So my name is Bernard. I am working for a company named Sauce Labs. The company is based in San Francisco, and I would like to take you on a little journey. It will be called Automated Cross Browser and Cross-Platform Testing, and we'll be using Node to do that. And I will tell you how to do the cross-browser testing, when to do it, and who should actually do it. So why do we need it? We are all familiar with the quality assurance term, and as you already heard, it's a problem because we are humans, we make errors, we are lazy, we cut corners, so we make a lot of mistakes, and especially we do those mistakes while we code. So QA is something that we need to ensure that our software is not crappy and it's doing the things that we want it to do. Because even if your application is throwing exceptions and failing, it's not that bad. But if it's doing the things that you don't want it to do and the user does not expect that, it is really, really bad. So yeah, but you really can't run away from it. You have to test your application, and the bigger the project gets, the higher risk of the regression. And probably none of you likes the word regression, especially if someone is pointing at you and saying that you're the author of the regression. And yeah, you're probably familiar with this development cycle where someone spots a bug, then you fix it, and there's another bug. And that bug is because of your fix. And it happens especially in big projects where there is only manual testing involved. And you again fix, there's a bug somewhere else, and you fix again, and there's again a bug. So yeah, what's the answer to that? Of course, it's automated testing. It will help you sleep better. How often you should run your automated tests if you already have them? Probably on each commit. So you've got continuous integration in place, you've got feedback really fast. If something's going wrong, you know, like in 10 minutes that the build is failing and the thing that you fixed is actually a real bug. And what's even better in automated testing, because when you do manual testing, you have to run a lot of these use cases with your application. You just click, I'm saying about web applications. You just click around in your browser and you've got to click for hours to go through all the paths in the application. And when you have automated tests, you can actually write them with code, and you just run the code, and you know, computers do not complain that they have to do the same thing over and over again. So they are great for that. They are much cheaper, even if you have to buy a lot of hardware to support your test. It's way, way cheaper than hiring another engineer to test your web application. Yeah, so even if you already know how important testing is, you already heard at this conference quite a few talks about testing, so you probably you're having this light in your head that it might be something interesting and worth doing. You might ask, what should I test? Because the application is something like this. It's a couple of modules, well, not couple, it might be a lot of modules that are integrated and are where are the parts of your application. It might be a templating engine, it might be a database abstraction. So, oh no, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, you've got these application modules, and if you're already familiar with testing, you're probably doing unit tests. They are fast, they are cheap because they are mocking a lot of stuff. So if you're using third-party API, you're probably mocking it, so your unit test is really fast. And they are meant to be really fast and to give you a really, really, really fast feedback. But the downside of them is that they do not test real-world user scenarios. They are just testing tiny chunks of code. And your application actually consists of these application modules and connections between them. They interact a lot, and if you only do unit tests, you do not test those blank spots. And this is where integration or functional tests came in. They treat your application like a black box. They allow you to test your application top to down. So with one integration test, you can test your templating engine, your database abstraction. Basically, you want to simulate the reality with the integration test as best as you can. So it's as most similar to the real user scenario as it can be. So what's the tool for that? Yeah, what's the tool? The tool is called Selenium. It's one of the tools, but in my opinion, that is the tool that models the reality of the production environment best. Well, it models the user interaction model. It's a UI testing library for web applications. You've already heard about it yesterday. It's a W3C standard draft, so in future it will be incorporated into browsers. It acts like a real user. It lets you drive your browser, and it is using OS level events for clicks, for various actions. So it is modeling real user behavior really well. And the other great thing about this, it is that it is using REST API, and there are already libraries in most of the languages to use Selenium. So you can use Node with JavaScript to drive the browser, but you can use Ruby, you can use Python, you can use whatever you want. So Selenium is not creating a monoculture of users. User that wants to use Python can use Python. It's not a problem. And it lets you automate not only only one browser, but actually the Selenium project wants to automate all the browsers. So you can automate IE, you can automate Firefox, you can automate mobile Safari, and run your application tests against all these browsers with the same code. So you write the code once, and then you just change the string that specifies the browser, and here it goes. You test on Firefox, then you test on Chrome, then you test on IE, and you can check on what browser it fails. And if you will start Googling about it, you will stumble into Selenium One and Selenium 2. And what's the difference? Selenium One is generally a deprecated version of Selenium. It is using a lot of JavaScript hacks to drive the browsers. It does not have bindings for mobile browsers. And there are, as it is using JavaScript inside the browser to drive it, there are problems with pop-ups, dialogues, and things like that. And it is not using OS level events, and this is the problem that is the origin of that. And if you use Selenium 2, it's much better. The API is much more mature. It has OS level integration. It has clients for iOS and Android, so you can finally test on mobile browsers. Yeah, and how does the Selenium work? You create your script. Here I'll be using a script written using WD.js, which is a low-level WebDriver implementation in JavaScript. It is using Node. Your script is communicating with the server, then the server is communicating with the browser driver. The browser drivers some of them are maintained by Selenium community, but some of them are actually already maintained by browser vendors. Like the Chromium team is fully maintaining the Chrome driver. And as I said, it is a W3C standard draft, so in future probably all the browsers will have the drivers integrated, and you will be able to drive them without any special libraries. Yeah, and then after connecting with driver, it is hitting your application on the browser. And then after each step of your automation test, you get the response. The response is coming down back to your script. Yeah, and the important part also is that the Selenium server does not have to be on a local machine. It can be somewhere in cloud or somewhere in remote server, because as you saw, you can drive IE, you can drive Firefox, and to drive IE, you've got to have Windows. So you can install your Selenium driver on a Windows machine and communicate over the network with it to drive the browser. Okay, here's a sample test. I'm using WD.js library, and I'm using it in the promise mode, so I don't have to play with callbacks, at least with callback hell too much. So I'm getting the Scotland.js web page. I'm getting the title. I'm asserting that it's the title I wanted to, that should be there, and that's it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my demo will work. You will see in a moment why, because I recorded it. So actually, the script that I'm running here is a bit more complicated, because if I would only run the script that you saw there, it would only take a fraction of a second and you would saw nothing. So here I'm starting a Selenium server on my machine. It takes a while, but it's a short while. And then in a separate terminal, I'm starting the script. The similar to the one sorry that it's that small. But here I'm running Firefox. It is opening the page. It is sizing the browser, because you can do that. You can position the browser. Then it's searching for a schedule link. Then it's finding my talk. And then it is asserting that my Twitter handle is there. So it is the same exact test, but I'm just using different browser for it, but I did not have to change any bit of code in the test. Let me show you. Yeah, this is the test, and here is the browser name. You specify the browser, and I'm running it with browser name Chrome and Firefox. And it is all you have to do to use Chrome, Firefox, Safari, whatever you want. Yeah, this was a little Selenium demo, but what if you're such a lazy developer that you don't even want to write a code? Well, you can. The Selenium Builder is also open source tool. Also, Selenium is completely open sourced. Selenium Builder is a graphical tool. It's a Firefox plugin that lets you record your browser sessions, and then you can export them to, for example, WD.js and run automatic tests. So you can convert your manual testers into automated tests, which you can then can integrate into your continuous integration, for example. And it also does not restrict you to the one language monoculture. You can export to many languages. Yeah, so let me show you a demo of that. Yeah, it will work too. Oops, sorry. So here I'm starting Firefox. I'm starting the Selenium Builder plugin. I'm pointing it to the scotland.js.com page. I told him that I want to use Selenium 2 format. And yeah, you just click around. You see, it recorded the click element action with a link text schedule. Here, I want to record a verification that my talk is in the schedule, and it records that. Then you can click to enter the page, and then I can check if my Twitter handle is there. So it's that simple. Yeah, and what's even more fun, you can run the test locally on the browser, but it fails. Why? Because, as I said, Selenium tries to model the reality as as best as it can to have the user experience. So as you see, it recorded the schedule because it is in code. It was in a lowercase, but actually there is a CSS style that makes it uppercase. So yeah, that's why it was failing. So you've got to fix that, and then you can run the test on the browser. It runs. Yeah, I'm using verified text present, but there's a lot of different other things. You can check if the cookie is there. You can use the assertion. If assertion fails, the test won't run any more steps. It will just fail. So a lot of fun stuff in this plugin. It's completely open sourced, so if you find a bug or if you want to add something, it's easy. If you want to create a new language integration, you can do that. That's not a problem. And you can use, well, here I'm using, it is automatically using XPath selector, but you can select by link text, by CSS, but whatever you want. But you should do it wisely. And you can also run Selenium test right from the plugin. So I just told it to use Chrome, and it is running the same test that I just recorded with Firefox on Chrome. And then I'm exporting it to WD.js, and it's completely valid test. You just type node space node something .js, and it will also run a normal Selenium test. So you just can copy the file and use it in your CI. Yeah, so this is Selenium. It's completely open sourced. You can do a lot of fun things with it, and it allows you to create tests that are you are able to run cross browser. But what are the best practices? Well, first of all, as you saw right before, you can use XPath, you can use CSS selector, but you should remember that you should use them wisely. So it is not wise to select by third row element or by color red, because CSS might be changed, the layout might be changed a bit. So you should use the locators that make sense to select elements that do not rely on the layout that much. The other thing that is important are spinning assertions. So if you've got your, let's say, Ajax form, and in this form you have the ability to update the user email. You're hitting your servers with an Ajax request, and it is coming back in, I don't know, 2 seconds, and then the message is displayed on the web page. And normally you could record the click and then check if the message is there, but it will be there in 2 seconds. So you can't just create a simple test like that. You've got to create a loop that will check if the message is there, well, in a loop, and it will time out, or the test will be passed. So it is not a complicated concept, but it is worth remembering that Selenium is executing commands really fast, and it is not aware that something might be loading. You have to tell Selenium that it should make check a couple times. Yeah, and you could also delay the check, but it actually does not make much sense, because you are just wasting your time. You could check after 10 seconds if the message was there, but if the message is there after 2 seconds, you just waited 8 seconds of your build. So you shouldn't do that. And the other thing that will help your build, the continuous integration build, is parallelism. So you should parallelize your tests, and this is really important stuff, and people tend to forget about it, that tests should be, one test shouldn't assume that another test was executed before it, and that the application is in some state. The test should be completely independent logically. So if you want the user to be logged in, and so you should probably create some endpoint in your application that is only available in that development build. It is not available in the production environment. That will let you set the cookie, whatever, and log in the user. So when you've got those tests independent, you can parallelize them, and it will make your build much faster. Another trivial thing that people forget about are end-to-end checks. Again, the example with saving with a form that allows you to save a new user email. You might create a test that clicks the button and checks if the message has been displayed, but actually it is not enough. If you are creating that big integration test, you should check if the email was changed on the database level. So you should do end-to-end checks. You should, there's some action in the front-end UI. The main effect of the action is actually the change in database, not only the UI. So you are testing your application top to down. Okay, what if you want to become a testing ninja in 5 minutes? Well, actually, nowadays you can do that. Let's say you've got an open source project that is hosted on GitHub, and GitHub is well integrated with Travis CI. Travis CI is basically a continuous integration for open source. But what if you want to, for example, run Jasmine tests that are executed in the browser, and you want to check if if your tests will work in various browsers? You can use the Sauce Labs service because it is also free for open source projects. So let me show you a quick demo of that. Yep, here is my GitHub page. I'm creating a new repository. So it's a completely new project that will change the world, and it will be the best. So yeah, I'm creating a repo, then I'll be cloning it to my local machine. And I will cheat a bit here, because I don't want you to sit and wait while I'll write the boilerplate code. So I will just show you how it should look like. Yeah, I created a package definition for the project. And as you see, I'm using Grunt to do some automation here. And that's basically it. The dependencies are all only related with Grunt. And I'm in my grind file, I'm defining the browsers on which I would like to test my application. I'm creating a config for spinning up a local server via Grunt. And also I'm using a Grunt Sauce Labs package that allows me to run my Jasmine tests on browsers which are in the Sauce Labs cloud. So I don't have to, I don't need to install a Windows virtual machine on my computer. I just point the tests into the cloud, because you can do that with Selenium, and the tests are run there. And as you see, I'm setting concurrency. So what's even better, I will run multiple browser tests in parallel. And as you see in the before talk, you've got to register your tasks. So I've got 2 tasks here. The first one is dev, that basically spins up my local server, and another one is a test task that connects to that runs the tests on the Sauce Labs cloud. Yeah, and it's that simple. So here I'm I'm starting the local web server. And as you see, there is a Jasmine test. I added some delays, so it is not executing in a fraction of a second, so you can actually see that executing. And the last thing I need to do is set some variables, because Travis, if it wants to connect with Sauce Labs Cloud, it has to provide some credentials. So here I'm encrypting them, and I'm using --add command that is at the same time adding them to Travis YML file. And that's it. Everything is set up, some boilerplate code, but it's really easy. And then I'm committing this change to the repo, and that commit will trigger the Travis build. Well, push. So yeah, the push is there. I'm opening the Travis CI tab, and the new build has not just fired, but yeah, this is a recording, so you don't have to wait. I can fast forward. I want to show you one thing here. Yeah, here in the beginning it is setting environment variables that are completely encrypted, so you can use your keys, whatever, and they shouldn't leak anywhere. Yeah, the dependencies are getting downloaded and so on. Yeah, and here is, maybe not here yet. Yeah. The Sauce Labs task is started, and what this task does, it is creating a tunnel from the Sauce Labs cloud to the Travis CI server, so the browsers in the Sauce Labs cloud can open the web page that is pinned on the local server on the Travis CI. So that's pretty cool. You can also do the same thing on your local machine. You can point the browsers in the cloud to your local machine, even if it's encrypted. There is a special tunnel created that is fully encrypted, so you don't have to worry about anything. And as you see, the concurrency was set to 3, so there are 3 concurrent browser runs, and here you saw on the Travis CI server the execution of the tasks. Yeah, and it takes a second, but I can also fast forward. Yep, all tests are completed with status true. So yeah, my tests worked. The tunnel is killed, and that's it. The Travis CI build is green, and also the Sauce Labs is also able to report you on which browsers did you run your test and which tests were successful. And it also is able to parse the Jasmine data format and reports you how many tests were passed, how many total tests were there. So you've got all the information there. You can also access the individual job page, and then you will have the screenshots of your jobs and so on, all the commands that were executed by the browser. Yeah, and everything is there. The details of your Jasmine test run are also there. Yeah, that's it. And yeah, also the badges. You can use the badges on your GitHub page, so you can inform your users that the application passed all the continuous integration tests. Yeah, and you can use that for free. The GitHub is free for open source project. The Sauce Labs is free for open source projects, so you just need to use it. And okay, you can say that's cool, but nowadays we are having computers in our pockets, and they are way more powerful than our desktop computers like 10 years ago. So how do we test that, especially the native mobile apps? For iOS, you've got UI automation that allows you to write a script in JavaScript, so it forces you to use JavaScript. It's not that bad for you JavaScript developers, but some other people might not be so happy about it. But you write your test, and you can't talk to the device while the test is running. You just get the response when the test is finished. And The command line for UI automation is not really good, so it's really restricted. It is hard to put that into your continuous integration. Pretty similar situation for Android devices. There is an UI automator, and you basically create a test in a jar file and upload it to the device, and the test is run against your application. But the answer for that is Appium. Appium is a project, it's an open source project with active community. It is hosted on GitHub, and it is using a JSON wire protocol. So you can use almost the same tests that I showed you, the Selenium syntax, the Selenium client. So you use WD.js in JavaScript to drive native application. Yeah, and it was not possible not long ago. So here's a demo of Appium. Here the demo is showcasing a woven app. It is app donated to Project Appium, and it was created with a framework that allows you to write an application that runs both on Android and iOS device. And the cool thing about it is that you can write your test once and run it against iOS and Android device. This is completely the same test that is run against various platforms. So the similar situation as in browser world, but in the native world. This application is getting photos of your accounts in various picture sharing services. So here is an Android run. So yeah, it is automating it, swiping, doing stuff, tapping, and yeah, all the crazy native stuff on your mobile device. Yeah, and when that test finishes, the same test is run against iOS device. Yeah, so it's that easy. But it was not that easy like a couple months ago. So it's completely new. So if you're working also on native apps and you want to create a continuous integration for native app, it might be a good tool for you. Yep. Okay, but what if you want to test mobile web applications? Well, you can use iOS WebDriver, but basically what iOS WebDriver is, it is an application that you run on your iOS phone. You've got to have Xcode installed and all the stuff, so you have to use Mac. And it is basically a web application that has UI web view inside, and you're not using and automating a real browser, you're automating web view. So it's not a first-class citizen, it's just a web view that can have different rendering engine, different JavaScript engine. It is just not the real browser, real mobile Safari. The same for Android WebDriver. It's also an UI web view, so the same things and downsides of having access to a UI web view and not a real browser. So yeah, answer for that is again Appium. Appium not only allows you to, well, you know, the Chrome browser on Android or Safari on iOS, it is also an application, right? So you can automate it and forward commands to it. So here I'm running Appium. Then I'm starting my little script that is accessing Google and searching for kilt lovers. And then switching to images tab. And yeah, that's really simple, but also it was not possible not that long time ago. Yeah, and that's all. All the projects are completely open source. You can contribute to them, and you are encouraged to. If you want to use Sauce Labs for open source projects, it's completely free. But if you want to use for some commercial work, here's a promo code that will give you a lot of free stuff. And I will post a link to this presentation a bit later via Twitter. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.